Hello, the Black Alumni Council presents the Life of a Leatherneck podcast. My name is Byron Williams, your host for today. Today's podcast features Mr. Shelvis Lewis II, a 1986 graduate of WIU. Hey, Shelvis, how are you?
I'm good, Byron. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Great seeing you again.
Good
Want
seeing
to
you
ask you
too.
questions. Glad you're on the show today.
I'm
Now,
glad to be here.
what attracted you to Western Illinois University?
Well, what attracted me actually was the recruiting because I was at Chicago Vocational High School, so CVS back graduating in 1982, and Western Illinois came out to recruit, and they gave me an opportunity to come down to the university. I hadn't really applied to a bunch of schools, so when they asked if I would like to attend, the answer was a no-brainer. It was either that or whatever. So I said, yeah, I'll go. And they said, well, if you prove yourself this summer and you get a good GPA, then we'll accept you in the fall and you can come to school here full time. So that's how I found out about Western Illinois.
Oh, great. Now, what were some of your favorite memories from your time on campus at Western?
I think it was my favorite memories were just interacting with the students and the weekends. We lived for the weekends on campus, and it would start Friday afternoon, and Saturday, Sunday. We always had something to do, whether we were playing football or basketball or ping pong or just hanging out on Adams Street, or even when I was a freshman, we just hang out in the ravine. But it was just a time for everybody to relax, get to know each other, because when you're in class during the week, you're moving all over the campus. Maybe you're in the library, maybe you're in your dorm room, but on the weekends, everybody kind of got together somewhere on the campus, either at a party over at Horban Hall or off campus at a house or something like that. And I think that kind of happened more as we became upperclassmen. But when we were underclassmen and we first got on the yard, it was more or less hanging out in the dorms on the weekend. You didn't have to go to sleep. You could stay up as long as you wanted, no curfew. So I think living for the weekend, those are some of my best memories of Western.
Now, when you were a freshman, what dorm did you initially stay in?
Well, I lived in Lincoln, Washington. And when I got there the summer of '82, I stayed in Henninger. And then in the fall, I was on fourth floor Lincoln.
Okay. Now, did you stay as far as dorms? Is that the only dorm you stayed in, those two, or others?
No, I stayed in Wetzel, and I stayed in Tanner, and I also stayed off campus in a house 303 North Sherman. Never forget it.
Okay. Oh yeah. Legendary memory. Now, what was your favorite dorm, by the way? I thought which one was your favorite?
It's hard to say. Lincoln, because I first got there and we had the ravine. Lincoln was a lot of fun. Wetzel and Tanner, they were a little bit more upscale. I think I lived in Higgins too. But I think Lincoln was, we used to call that the ghetto. And that was the most fun, because that's kind of like the landing zone for all of the students to come on the yard. When you first get there, we had ping pong in the ravine, and that's where people would hang out
Lots of fun.
and we'd talk or we'd sit outside. So I think Lincoln was the most fun.
All right. So, were there any professors or courses that made a significant impact on you?
I was in ROTC, and I wanted to be a military guy. So I think one of the biggest impressions that on me was seeing some of these military folks that were out of uniform, kind of not the robotic military people that we always saw. You see the military guy, he's always in a military role. And sometimes we would get together on the weekends and I'd see people outside of their uniform and they became more human. And it made it much more realistic, because you have an impression of Army people. When you're young, you just think Army people are Army people that wear the uniform all the time and they're just soldiers. You don't really think about the softer side, the personable side of their lives. So I think that kind of made an impression on me, that the folks from the military, because they were different from other professors or TAs that were on the yard, because they wore their civilian clothes all the time, but the military folks had to wear uniforms. And when they took the uniforms off, it was like a totally different person And that kind of had an impression, on me to see people in a different light.
Awesome. So, how would you describe the campus environment during your time at WIU?
In the 80s, this is like the early mid 80s, it was just buzzing. The whole campus seemed like it was buzzing. There was something going on all the time. They had high enrollment, at least to us. We didn't have buses, so everybody was either walking somewhere to or fro. The union was crowded, the buildings were crowded, the library was crowded. It was just, even the Gwendolyn Brooks Cultural Center, the Black House was crowded. It was just people moving everywhere. That's what I remember about Western back in that time. Just people everywhere, all shapes, sizes, all nationalities, all cultures. It was just a big melting pot of so many different people.
Yeah, I remember the union. Everybody walking through the union, going to class. In
Yeah,
between classes, it was buzzing back then for
it
sure.
was buzzing.
Yeah. So, what activities or organizations were you involved in as a student?
Well, like I said, I was in ROTC. I was in the Cadet Rangers, and then I pledged Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That was life changing. Still is. That happened in 1983 in the fall. That was the organization that I spent most of my time in and most of my energy, and whether it be on campus or traveling to other schools to visit the different chapters and the different frat brothers there.
Okay. Now, that was over 40 years ago. So, I'm sure Western has changed. I know you've been going back. So, how has the university changed from your perspective since you graduated?
Well, the first thing that I noticed when I got down there was the buildings. There were a lot of the houses on Adams Street. They were gone. There were a lot more apartments or townhomes. And then I know the enrollment is down at the time. So it just wasn't a buzzing, busy, it was kind of like a ghost town initially. Even when it was crowded and we saw a lot of people down there, I saw students that were more to themselves, whereas back when we were on campus, there was a lot more social interaction. It just seemed like nowadays, not much social interaction, just people passing each other and not really interacting as much as we did. We had to rely on each other for communication, and we didn't have cell phones and computers and all of that stuff. So a lot of the stuff that we had, whether it was trying to find out about what was going on that weekend, if we didn't hand draw a flyer and make Xerox copies and hang them up, then it was all word of mouth. But we all talked a lot. And when I got down on the yard, I just saw, especially with the bus service that was running up and down Adams and taking kids to class, that was something that was new to me. And just I think it's just the overall environment. There were more adults that lived closer to campus, whereas when we were on the yard, it was all students that lived in the vicinity. But now you see some families down there, which was totally different for me.
Yeah, yeah. So, what aspects of WIU have remained the same in your opinion? Anything the same as it was when you were there?
I would think the alumni council. They pretty much stay very true to the students. They do the same things. They try to have a lot more functions. They try to bring people back to the yard, get donations, homecoming, that kind of thing. That's all the same. The people are a lot different. The interactions are a lot different. But I think for the most part, for all of the years, even though we didn't interact as much with the alumni council because we were students. But then after we got out and we started visiting the yard again, you see after all these years, they were pretty consistent in reaching out to the alumni community to get them back on the yard, to either participate, donate, or host an event in their hometowns.
Yeah, so you are a member of the Western Illinois Alumni Council as well as the president of the Black Alumni Council. Give me a little bit of information about both organizations. What's good about both?
Well, the Alumni Council reaches out to, I forgot how many tens of thousands of Western Illinois alumni we have around the world. And they tried to reach out to all the alumni. It didn't matter what year you graduated. They have events for different classes, which is always good. The one of the main things they do, they talk about recruiting. We have meetings and we talk with the faculty. We talk with some of the members of the board of trustees. So the Western Illinois Alumni Council kind of bridges the gap between what's happening currently and what's happening with the former students or the alumni. So they keep us tied into the business side, the social side. So we have that connection with what's happening on campus and what's happening after folks graduate. So I know you've probably seen a lot of the mailers for some of the the book for what is it again? The book that we had, not a registry, but it's a book with a listing of all of our Western Illinois alumni around the world. With the Black Alumni Association, we try to focus on we used to have a small group of Black students on the yard. So we stay in contact because some of our interactions and experiences on campus were a lot different from the broader members of campus or the broader student and faculty. I'll say that culture there. So we had a different interaction. We were a little bit more away from home. We were, when you have a smaller subset of people, you kind of bond together because we were all from Chicago or East St. Louis predominantly. And we would get together and we had so much fun on the yard because we were so far away from home. So we tried to, embody that family feel. And that's kind of the premise for the Black Alumni Council. And that was started pretty much to keep that fun. We had so much fun on campus. Once we left campus, it was like you miss everybody. You miss all the fun you had, the unique opportunities, the friendships, the I don't know how you can say it. It was just that family feeling, like we felt like cousins or brothers and sisters. So we wanted to have that feeling, and that's how the Black Alumni Council was started, by some folks back in the day. And once that it was a picnic, really. It started off as a picnic, and then it kind of evolved into more than that because we wanted to really help recruit some more Black students to come down to Western Illinois, and we also wanted to make sure that we get some donations so that we could help these students pay for school. That's kind of the main focus of what the Black Alumni Council does. That's different from the WIU Alumni Council. We try to get in and keep students in school, raise money. Even though everybody has scholarships, we really focus on some of the students that we know are coming from different backgrounds that may need more financial help than others.
So, how did your education at WIU prepare you for your career? And what are you doing now?
Actually, I majored in law enforcement administration, and I'm in IT now. So I think what law enforcement administration, any of the classes that you take, they help you structure yourself. They help you to organize and study and learn. Administration period is something that everyone needs to learn. Law enforcement administration kind of helps you learn more about some of the legal side and from what I remember then. But as I got into information technology, it's very structured. When there's always some kind of training. It'll have a different buzzword, different concepts. They all kind of boil down to something that you learn. It's just rebranded into something else. So that's kind of what I took from it. I didn't really work in law enforcement for too long, but I found something that was almost always evolving, which is information technology. And that was something that I knew that I could get into that career. It would never get stale to me.
Okay. And what advice would you give to current students about leveraging their education for professional success?
I would say don't pigeonhole yourself. You learn something. There are things that you think you want to do right now. I mean, everybody has not everybody, but most of the students will have some idea of what they want to do in their career. And either it's something that they have observed and they know that's what they want to do, or something that maybe a family member or a parent has pushed you into. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. I would say learn as much as you can, but keep your eyes open. You don't have to stay in one particular career path. You can always move around and apply the knowledge that you have somewhere else. That would be my advice, is to really ask questions. If you're really thinking about a career, there are enough people out here that are doing it. I would say reach out to the Alumni Council or the Black Alumni Council or whomever, and we can always put you in touch with somebody if you need to walk around and shadow them and see exactly what it is that profession offers. And the other thing is, find out everything about it, even pay, because some people, school is expensive. It's an investment. So you want to make sure that what you're investing in is something that you can enjoy and make that investment pay off.
Awesome. Were there any key lessons you learned at WIU that you still carry with you today?
You know what? I would say most of that came from the fraternity. It just did. It's undeniable.
What fraternity is that, by the way?
That was Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated again. Yeah. So there are certain challenges. There are certain processes that you go through, situations, and you learn to depend on others. You learn to help. You learn to love. There's a bond that you have with the fraternity member, or even other fraternities on the yard, or even when we did community service. And a lot of those things, when you go around, we may not have ever seen some of the communities that lived in Macomb. When we did community service or fundraisers or food drives, we got to meet some of the people that lived in Macomb that weren't on campus. So I think the organization, being a member of the Qs, helped me to see a lot bigger picture than just being on campus and going to class and trying to graduate. There were people down there that were trying to live, and they were trying to survive, and they were trying to adjust to the culture. And I think it gave us firsthand knowledge to see how other people live, because we lived in Chicago or wherever we came from. A lot of us, not many of us lived in Macomb or had ever lived in a town like that where you had to go to the square, to go shopping or something like that. It was a different atmosphere. And I think the organization that I was a part of, and that I'm sure you're a part of, and Steve is also a part of an organization. Being in those organizations, it opened our eyes up to more than just a campus life. It opened us up to a lot more social experiences.
Oh, by the way, who is Steve?
He's another member of the WIU Black Alumni Council. He's a member of Phi Sigma, and he does a great job of editing our videos for the podcast.
Okay.
You got to send a shout
Sounds
out.
good.
And he's also DJ Deathstroke.
Okay, Steve Hodges, a member of Black Alumni Council.
That's
So
right.
how has your connection to WIU influenced your personal or professional life over the years?
Well, I think, you and I were down there around the same time. I mean, we've got, we've had businesses together, entrepreneurship. We've experienced marriages. We've been a part of different weddings for each other. We've been to parents' funerals, supported each other. So from that perspective, that support group, the people that we met down there, they're so intertwined, especially when you're, I live in Austin, Texas now, but when I was in Chicago, it was always I would always run into somebody from Western, whether it was on a job or it was at an event or it was some political event or whatever it was. We ran into somebody and I think the way we interacted down on the yard back then, the degrees of separation weren't more than 6 degrees. They were even less and less, and it's getting even less now. Everybody knew somebody from Western, so that really That's just exciting when you go someplace and you know somebody that knows somebody. It closes the loop much faster. It's just fun and it's cool to me. So I hope that answered the
Yeah,
question.
it's something about, when we went to Western, we were teenagers,
Yeah,
and you look back, a 40-year relationship, a 40-year-old friend, so many good times, laughs, man. It's just so many memories. It's
and see,
unbelievable. 40 years have passed,
yeah,
right?
time
Now,
time
some of
flies.
us look a lot older than others, but
You know,
40 years gone.
and I would say you have to cherish those relationships. That's
Yeah,
that's why it's weird for me when I went down to campus and I don't see a lot of the students interacting with each other, and I think about how we interacted and how that shaped our lives going forward. And we have people that we've been friends with for over 40 years, and we get together and we laugh and we talk about the old times, probably boring other people around us, but a lot of people find it entertaining, all the adventures that we had when we went to school down there. And I just hope
yeah,
that the kids that are down there now have that same opportunity and the same experience. It's like, well, I don't know if they still do it, but we would find out, hey, who's going to Chicago this weekend? Who's going to St. Louis? And we'd carpool with people we didn't know, and we get to know them and meet them. And then we'd end up
yeah,
meeting their families and becoming a part of their families. And I don't
yeah,
know if that happens now. I hope it does. But I mean, when you talk
right.
about a 40-year relationship, it starts with the first year. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You start some of these relationships, just get to know people and talk to them and have some fun, man. And life is short. And you realize it
Yeah.
because we've been hanging out for 40 years now. And and we've got a lot less years in front of us than we have behind us. And
Hmm.
you think, what if I could go back then and know what I know now? So you always try to impart that knowledge with some of the younger kids. I don't know if it sinks in. Maybe it'll sink into one or two, hopefully. But I think the
Hmm.
main thing is cherish it, enjoy it. Go to class and is. I hope people. I know we always talk about mental health. Some of the people that we knew on campus were struggling with either some hardships or some depression, things like that. There's so much more ahead of you beyond some of these tough times and these struggles that you go through now. I hope that they can just hang in there and just get beyond it for a minute. Just hang on. Finish line maybe just around the corner. So I hope that the people that aren't feeling 100% happy would be able to, just hang on and the good times will come.
Now, do you stay in touch with classmates that aren't in the fraternity? And also, do you participate in alumni events?
Absolutely. I go to homecoming every year. I stay in touch with folks from the Alumni Council. I stay in touch, I'm on the Alumni Council now. So, I stay in touch with those folks and we meet. I've met people that I hadn't known. They were there when I was there. We walked the yard at the same time. I just didn't know them. So now we get to know those people. I try to get to every event that I can. The Alumni Council will come here to Austin. Sometimes they're in Houston or Dallas or San Antonio. So I've been to Dallas to hang out, and I've been, of course, here, and I've run into. I've actually got a chance to meet some of the folks that live here in Austin from Western Illinois. So it's just good to talk with people that are familiar with Macomb.
Yes. Now, what advice would you give to students preparing to graduate from Western now?
Talk. I know when we were young, we thought we knew everything, but just talk to people. There's so much information. Sometimes just a very casual conversation. It doesn't have to be interview-like. Just having a conversation with people about what you're doing and where you're going. There's a lot of help, standing right in front of you or a phone call or an email away. We always try to help as many people as we can. We put the word out. So I would say just have a conversation. If you're curious about anything, if you may get a job offer and think it's the greatest thing in the world, and someone else may say, hey, you know what? I have a better offer over here for you if you want to do this or work for this company. So I would say reach out to the alumni. That's the most important information. Reach out to the alumni. We've got people that are willing to help financially, with information, with connections. anything you need. There's a bunch of people that are willing to help and would love to help you. So please reach out and don't take all of it up on yourself to try to figure out. It's a big world. It's a lot of stuff going on, especially in these days. We can help you navigate some of these obstacles so that you don't have to bump your head or, learn the hard way like we did. If we had that experience, we'd love to give that experience to you. Promise you, we won't bore you to death, but just give you the straight up facts. Talk to you.
Okay. Now, is there anything that you wish you had done differently during your time at WIU?
When I talk about stuff like that, is there anything you wish you would have done differently? I think if I had done anything differently, it probably would have changed some course in my life. That ripple effect. So I don't think I would have changed anything. I thought, what if I had a different major? What if I did this? It may have led me somewhere else. I may not be in Austin. I may not have. I joined the National Guard in college. If I had known more about the National Guard at the time, I probably would not have joined, because when I graduated, I had a 6-year commitment to the National Guard when I had planned my entire life around going active duty Army. So that I thought about that, but who knows what could have happened from there had I gone active duty out of directly out of college. I definitely would have been away from my family in Chicago a lot more. So the plus side of that is I was home more. I didn't have the career path that I wanted, but I had a career. I made it work out. It may have been tough at times, and I may have been doing things that I originally didn't want to do. But, some of the people that I met and the experiences that I had and the education that I got outside of college, I don't know if I could have scripted it any better to be where I am today.
Okay. Now, how do you think WIU can continue to make a positive impact on future generations of students?
Recruiting. They're going to have to recruit. I know that that's the main source of income for the university, and there's a quality education down there. Whatever isn't on that campus can be on that campus with a student population, and get away from the city, get down there and study. I know everybody wants to be close to home or whatever. We weren't that close to home, but you're not that far now. You got 2 trains you can hop on and go back and forth. I would just hope that Western can recruit more people, spread the word of what type of education you can get down there for the money, because it's a great value. You'll make some great connections. You'll get a great education, and you can live inexpensively. You don't have to. I know some people think now, we hear that a lot of people think that investing in an education isn't as profitable as going to get a job, but it's more than just an education in the book sense. It's also social interactions that you have in school. That's immeasurable. Those are some of the things that you get that you can't really put a price on. You can't even predict it. It just happens. You might meet somebody down there that could be your friend for over 40 years, or a wife, or a husband, a significant other, whatever it may be. But I would say I hope Western reaches out and spreads the word and recruits like they used to. When they were. I think when you have a big population, you don't recruit as heavily. But now then, when the population is down and they're recruiting, then maybe people think, why would I come down there? Because you don't have as many people as some of these other schools. Well, that's because I don't know. I don't know why, but I know that the opportunity is there. So.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, over the years, I can truly say that you haven't been crowned, but you should be one of the kings of comedy. Now, I'm a victim to some of your jokes. The problem is you don't run out of jokes.
Man,
it just keep going.
We try to stay professional.
Where'd you get this from, man?
It's just, I've got a family that is funny. My mom, my dad, God rest his soul. My sisters, cousins. I have a funny family, and So it's like growing up, it's just the creativity and the things that we talk about and think about and you hear, it just takes you to another place. So when you say you don't run out of jokes, it's so much stuff around it, that we see, and then it reminds me of different stuff, or I see things a little differently. So
Yeah.
it's not that hard. I love doing it with you all because it's fun, man. We laugh hard. We have a great time. Every time we get together, we laugh. I don't care if it's
Your back hurt,
serious,
side hurt, back hurt, cannot breathe.
everything. And then there's so many funny people at Western from when we were down there and going back to visit, man. It's just that's what I miss about Western. And you go anywhere else in the world, but it's nothing like your home yard, And I know people go to these different schools and they bounce around, they do this. It's nothing like your home yard.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, another Leatherneck legend. 1986 graduate from Western Illinois University, Shelvis Lewis II. Now, one last question, Shelvis.
Yes, sir.
Now, I was down at homecoming and I looked in the yearbook, right?
Yeah.
It was like 1918. And I saw your old girl, she had a wooden wig on.
Mm-hmm.
It was made of wood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. And then she was in the parade, and now it's a titanium wig. Now, does that titanium wig take WD-40 when you oil it, or 5W30?
I don't know, because your mother's been making wigs since she was, I think, since the Underground Railroad. She made the first wig for Harriet Tubman, and she's in the Civil Rights Museum for all of the wigs for every civil rights movement. She's there. She's 115, but she still makes wigs, and she makes them out of whatever she got. Hondas. She got a Tesla wig.
She did whose hair?